And to John and Megan for doing all the music. They were incredible. So they put a lot of work into this whole event. So this is awesome. My name is Caitlin, and I am Asian. All right, thank you. Good night. I guess it's something you could probably easily figure out. One thing you may not be able to tell just by looking at me is that I am adopted. So I am South Korean. I was born in South Korea. I was adopted when I was 5 months old. My parents are white and from northern Kentucky. Don't hold that against them. They're in the audience. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. You can't tell that they're there amongst all of you. And my brother is also adopted. He's Pacific Islander. And this has always been a huge part of my identity. It's been a very strong part of my life that I feel really proud of. There are other parts of my identity that I thought were strong, but kind of fell away. So there was a moment in my life where I thought I was a stand-up comic. Besides right now, that lasted a year. There was a significant part of my life where I was really involved with the music scene here in Cincinnati. So I was a band manager, and I was a music promoter, and I wrote for a music blog, and I was a DJ, and I did that for a few years. And that also, even though it was a huge part of my identity at the time, hasn't really stuck, even though I love music. And then most recently, I was really involved in the entrepreneurship scene. So I was really involved with working with small businesses and artists and creatives. And that was very recently. And that's still a huge part of me, but it's not this major part of my identity anymore. But like I said, I'm still Asian, as far as I can tell. And I'm still adopted, and I feel really good about it. So that's something that I haven't really had to question until this one time. So in November 2010, I went to Korea for the first time, since I had been born there. And I just went on a whim. I just kind of met this friend of a friend who was, he went back and forth between here and Korea. And he was going to visit family because his brother was getting married. And I didn't really know this guy at all. But I was like, can I go with you? And he said, yes, fool. So I didn't feel compelled necessarily up until that moment to visit Korea. I didn't feel a real urge to, see this birthplace because I'm from Kentucky. My parents are here, so why would I want to go? I do love food, however. I love food. I love traveling, so I just figured, why not go? So I also don't know anything about the language or the culture or really anything about Korea. So I learned a lot in the 18-hour flight over there. And so I get there, and it was crazy because for the first time ever, everybody looked like me. And it's weird because I didn't feel like I looked like everybody else. I didn't feel connected to this entire body of people where I actually shared their genes. In Kentucky, I definitely felt Korean. My nickname in high school was literally Hey Asian, because I was one of 4 Asians in my high school. But here in Seoul, I didn't know the language. Like I said, I didn't know the culture. I felt no connection to any of these people. So that was really hard. It's weird to be in Korea, in the place where you're born, and to not feel Korean. So I spent 10 days there. I come back, and I feel all jumbled up. Am I really Asian? What does that mean? I start to get settled at work, and I get an email in my inbox, and it's from my adoption agency. And it says, "Dear Caitlin, we have some information about your birth family because you put in this request So good luck on your search. Here's a whole bunch of information you didn't know. So just like as a quick background, like a few months before I went to Korea, I had put together this like application to say like I'm interested in finding my birth parents. This is like a first time thing. And again, like I didn't see this trip to Korea as like a soul searching kind of thing, but it just seemed like good timing, right? Like why not, since I'm already going over there. So of course I get this email literally the day I get back. Super useful. And so it has all this information that my adoption agency had previously not given me. So it had information about like my birth mother's last name, which I didn't know up until the age of 23, like at that moment. And it said what she looked like, and it said the province where I was born, and it had information about why I was put up for adoption. And so this is crazy because the story that I had been told, which is the story that my family had always gotten, was my birth mother was like having a relationship with a married man, got pregnant with me, couldn't afford to keep me, and out of this huge gesture of sacrifice and love, put me up for adoption. This is the whole story. So the whole story is that I found in this email. It's an email, by the way, not even like an attachment. It's literally in the body of an email. The email says that my mother was in a serious relationship with a man. She got pregnant. Her family did not like this guy, so she was completely shunned from her family. She had me, and her dude just never shows up to the hospital. So she goes to his house for the first time ever, and he has a family, like he has a wife and kids, and he completely denies all responsibility. So now she has no family, she has no partner, she just has a baby, and she sells all of her belongings to try to raise me for like a solid 3 months before she realizes that this is not the life that she wanted for her child. Sorry, y'all there. You guys still there? So this is not a different story, right? It's just more complete than what I had heard. So just came from a trip where I thought maybe I was not as Asian as I had once believed. And now I'm like way more adopted than I really thought, right? So I'm feeling like kind of crazy. I'd like to say that after I got this email, I like really dove down and learned Korean, and then I flew across the world and I tried to find my birth family. I didn't do any of that. I did nothing with this information. That email is still stored in my Gmail. Just for one day, I'm gonna just take a look at it again. So that was 2010. Flash forward to last year, and I'm getting married. I mean, I'm married now, spoiler alert. But, oh, thanks. So in 2015, I was like preparing to get married, and if any of you know, if any of you have ever been part of the wedding planning process, you really find out what kind of person you really are when you go through this process. And so keep in mind, like, in low gear, the last 5 years, I'm like, this part of my identity that I thought was pretty solid was like kind of shaky. But meanwhile, in 2015, as I'm planning this wedding, all of these people from my past lives suddenly had surfaced to support and help me. So comics that I had worked with over the last few years suddenly are like showing to help out. Musicians that I had been working with over the last few years are asking to play at my wedding just because. And all these small businesses that I had been working with for years are suddenly saying, what can I do to help? And so what I realized is that maybe identity for me, it's not about place, and it's not about what you look like or where you're born. Identity for me is about people. It's about these communities that I've been so fortunate and honored to work with over the last few years. And it's about these people that I have totally fallen in love with and that miraculously love me back. That for me is identity. And that I don't have any question about. Thank you.